Hey guys, Jonathan with JDL here. We got a 2015 Chevrolet Tahoe, and it's got the 5.3 V8. You can see here is the exposed passenger side valve cover. You can see a rocker arm there for cylinder number 6 is no longer working. So I took a couple steps to actually make sure that I had to go this deep. First I swapped over coils, swapped over the plugs and the wires, and the problem did not move from cylinder 6. So then I started to do some research to see, why cylinder 6 would be problematic, or if it was a problematic cylinder. And it turns out that it was, because it's part of the active fuel management system, or what they also call DOD, displacement on demand. The cylinders that pertain to such a system are cylinders 1, 4, 6, and 7. So once I was able to confirm by taking off the valve cover gasket, once I was able to confirm that I did need to disassemble the head, I took a deep breath, because I knew that the amount of work was not going to be difficult. It was just going to be lengthy, and if I didn't go ahead and undertake the project myself, I was going to have to pay a shop to do it. And me doing this kind of work on my own vehicle is going to cost me money. I mean, let's just face it, when I'm down and I have to do my personal work, I'm not out there making money. So the only thing is, for this particular job, it's quoted at around 9 hours, and most shops, at least where I'm at, are charging $150 an hour. So that was going to be a pretty penny, not even including parts yet. I went ahead and I got all the genuine parts. Not sure if that was a good call or not, given that these parts failed on a 93,000 mile engine. I know they failed a lot earlier on some vehicles. This is actually a police package, so it was maintained by the state trooper garage in another state. But when I took it all apart, I was able to see that there's a lot of carbon buildup everywhere, and you'll get to see that once I get everything out. So for this part, you do have to disconnect the fuel lines, and the reason you have to do it is because they're actually pretty thick, and you can't just kind of move one out of the way, and I don't think you'd want to bend them to make the space. So you take an extra 30 seconds to just loosen that 17 millimeter nut, and then you can just remove the hard lines out of the way. You do have to loosen on one that's held in via one bolt into the engine, but overall it's pretty easy. None of this is actually real difficult. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm the smartest guy, but I watched one video and I said, yeah, I can do that. And the reason I normally don't do these kind of jobs is because the kind of work that I do is really geared around getting people out of a jam. So whether that's a starter job, an alternator, serpentine belts, brake jobs, suspension related components, and then some maintenance stuff like tune-ups, oil changes, flat tires. Roadside calls is not really what I do. When people think of roadside, they think of AAA. So I normally don't get those kinds of calls, but I'm working towards that. So in any event, at this point, I loosened all the coolant lines. Or, well, when I say all, I mean 2 of them, the main coolant lines that go into the block. And everything was just pouring out. but I'll speed that up because that's not anything interesting. Not really gonna show it, but I disconnected I loosened the head bolts and then the rocker arm bolts, and I took the guide rods out. So I was essentially left with the block exposed. As you can see, the exhaust header is still there. What you're not going to see on video is me struggling to pull out the head because I left spark plug number 8 in the head, and it was giving me trouble. These are the lifters I was telling you about and their guides. So they go in one particular way. They're slotted. And when you've got a failure on the lifter, you've got either a lifter that's spun in place, or you've got a lifter that no longer expands or compresses properly. This one did not fail in that fashion. It actually just spun in place. I can't believe that they would make this piece of plastic to hold, the metal, a metal component. I mean, it's designed to fail. I can't think of any other reason for plastic being relied on to hold metal. I can understand if the metal was used to hold plastic, but not the other way around. Especially when these things are consistently moving, up and down. So at this point, I'm just inspecting the roller or the bearing, whatever you want to call it, for any damage. I don't have one of those fancier bore scopes to check out the camshaft, and so I'm relying really on my inspection on this roller to determine if it's damaged enough. Now, background info, I didn't hear any sort of ticking. There was no chattering, no clacking, no strange noises coming from the engine. As soon as I had the misfire, I drove maybe about another 5 to 8 minutes, was able to park it, and that was it. I just ran my tests after that to confirm, hey, do I have a bad spark plug or not? Do I've got this, I've got that? And that's just me re-verifying again, the problem. So with the downtime and the parts coming in the mail, I just went ahead and got to working on getting the surface prepped. This is the head. I'm getting the valve cover surfaced, prepped, and then you'll see me kind of working on the other sides. Well, the other side being the where the head mates to the block. Now for this part, I asked myself about 3 times if this is a good idea. Then of course I went to Google to make sure it was a decent idea. But essentially I just wanted to get the valves, the base or the head of the valves cleaned up a bit. And I wanted to do it quick, not sit there with a piece of sandpaper and take all day. But I went ahead and used a wire wheel, and I was careful not to, cause any scoring. So I guess as far as I'm concerned, it worked. But anybody who does this professionally might object to my method, and I'm open to learning. Whatever I can do in the future differently and better, I'm up for it. I had bought a composite or one of those roll-lock styled wire wheels or brushed wheels, whatever they're called. But when I attempted to use it, it almost appeared as if the rubber, the speed of the rotation and the rubber was not really complying. Anyway, don't mind my crazy hair there. It was a rainy day. I was wearing a hoodie. So let me fast forward to the end result. Yes, I'm going to saran wrap the head.
It's caught in the crossfire.